Now, when we first started the show, if someone would have told me that I was going to need a series of videos to explain how a game works, I might not have been so keen to jump on board. But truth be told, while the world of MOBAs are very challenging, Ian has been making the experience much more friendly, especially to a noob like me. Ian's joined by Blake Seymour, Vice President of the Dalhousie E-Sports Society, to talk about the differences between the three biggest titles in the genre.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second episode of the MOBA-nomics 101, where we educate you on the world of MOBA games. This time, we're joined by Blake Seymour, Vice President of Dalhousie E-Sports Society, who will share his knowledge and expertise in the MOBA genre with us.
Thanks, Ian. While MOBA games appear to be the same game on the surface, there exist many differences between each entry into this subgenre. As more developers expand into making MOBA games, they each apply their own design and balance philosophies to the maintenance and construction of the game. This results in multiple games that operate under a similar general structure, but differ greatly in how they're played, just like any other genre of video game.
Today, we'll be taking a look at the big three titans of the MOBA genre: League of Legends, Dota 2, and Heroes of Newerth. We will try to give you a good overview of each game, everything from the developer behind it to how friendly the game is, as well as a bit of our own opinion and experience.
League of Legends is a MOBA game developed by Riot Games and was released in 2009. While it was popular upon release, its player base grew exponentially as the years went by. Today, League of Legends is the most played online game in the world, with over 12 million people playing League of Legends worldwide per day. The game uses a free-to-play business model, with microtransactions in place that allow the player to customize their experience with skins for their favorite champions. When you start an account, you will be at level 1 and have no champions permanently unlocked. As you play through the game, you will level up to a maximum of level 30 and gain IP as you go, which will give you the ability to permanently unlock champions for you to play as you go along. In the meantime, a rotation of 10 champions are available for free every week. League of Legends controls very different from both HON and Dota 2 in ways that make it much easier for newer players to pick up and play the game. The biggest way that LoL accomplishes this is by removing unit selection entirely and limiting the player to the control of only one unit, their champion. This means no control groups and no box selection. Players can still click on enemy champions or units to see more detailed information on their health and stats, but all commands issued will still go to their champion. This is in place to help new players avoid frustrating moments of missed micro and keep them in control throughout the game. Additionally, League of Legends allows for further modification of the way you play your champion. Rune pages and masteries act as a sort of talent page system that allows players to customize their champion's stats right from level 1. Also, League of Legends introduced the concept of summoner spells, an additional 2 spells that each champion has access to from level 1 and that are selected from a pool of 13 different spells. All of these things help individualize one player from another and lets people play their champion the way they want. The competitive scene for League of Legends is arguably the biggest out of any esport right now. Riot Games have taken charge and directly taken control of their competitive scene, with huge amounts of funding and even producing tournaments themselves. The prize pool for LoL's second season of competitive play was a whopping $5 million spread out over various Riot-sponsored tournaments. In Season 3, the prize pool remains in the millions, with high production value and a huge amount of games being created by Riot in what they call the League of Legends Champions Series, or LCS for short.
Heroes of Newerth, or HON, is developed by S2 Games for Microsoft Windows, Mac OS X, and Linux, which makes it the only MOBA game that is officially supported on all 3 operating systems by the developer. The game, as expected, was inspired by the custom map called Defense of the Ancients from Warcraft 3. HON went through many phases of development and release, changing its shape and feel quite a few times. The game first saw light as a beta version back in 2009, released in 2010 as a single purchase to play, and re-released as a free-to-play game in 2011. One of the S2's associate game designers said that the game was in development for 34 months, with the first 13 spent on developing the K2 engine, and the remaining 21 spent on maps, items, heroes, and art. When the game came out, many heroes were based off those from the original Dota. However, as the time went on and HON grew, S2 began designing their own heroes according to their own vision of balance and game design. HON is also the first MOBA game that had in-game voice communication. Back in 2002, S2 announced HON Tour, a completely automated tournament system built into the game, allowing anyone to compete and earn real money. Since then, the game received frequent updates and balance fixes, with the largest update being released at the beginning of 2013, with a major overhaul of game's graphics, addition of bots, new player tutorials, and a reskin of pretty much everything in the game. As of May, there are 118 playable heroes in the game. Generally, the game is great, with a consistent developer support and focus on the game. The amount of features and content that is being added certainly makes the game more fun. Han also retained many of the original mechanics of Dota, such as creep denying and blocking, which we will cover in the future episodes. However, many will agree that S2's approach to designing new heroes may seem slightly unbalanced, as virtually every hero released in the past 2 years has a combination of stuns, escapes, and slows, rigging the balance of the game each time there is a new hero. Personally, I feel like S2 took the balancing approach of if every hero is unbalanced, then it is a balance of its own. The game is absolutely free and easy to download regardless what system you'll be running it on, so you should check it out for yourself. Be warned though, the community is quite critical of the new players, but there are plenty of tutorials and features available which can help you get introduced to this game and the genre as a whole. Dota 2 is a MOBA game developed by Valve Corporation and is a direct standalone sequel to a Warcraft 3 custom game known as Defense of the Ancients, or Dota. The game was initially announced back in 2010, and the players were able to see the first glimpse of its gameplay during the International One, the first major Dota 2 competitive tournament hosted by Valve. The game is available to players via a beta key, which gives the players access to what is still a game in development. Upon release, the game will utilize a F2P or free-to-play business model. For those familiar with TF2, also developed and published by Valve, expect lots of hats.
Dota 2 is made with the intention of maintaining the same balance and overall design of Dota, but with updates and improvements to the matchmaking and graphical presentation of the game. Dota 2 uses standard RTS-style controls, with players being able to assign control groups to various different units, as well as using a drag-and-drop box selection method to micromanage their heroes. Other additions, such as rebindable hotkeys, a state-of-the-art spectator system, and in-game voice chat are all things that Valve have introduced into Dota 2.
Speaking of in-game voice chat that is so lovely used by the community, gladly there's an option to mute it, because the community of the game deserves a separate mention. And don't let me scare you off, there are plenty communities out there that will tell you about the activities your mother likes to do, or remind you that your voice does not sound deep enough. With the Dota and MOBA community in general, we have to keep in mind that the game is very team-oriented, and with each player having the potential to carry the whole team, or completely drag it down, resulting in a lot of verbal and written blame and abuse. With that in mind, just be prepared that every mistake you make, every noob question you ask, will usually be met with the highest level of scrutiny and sarcasm.
The teams that do manage to work together and play to the best of their ability are recognized by Valve, and they're given great opportunities to not only showcase their talent, but to make a living off of it as well. The competitive scene for Dota 2 is thriving, with the peak of competition showcased at the International, an annual tournament in Seattle hosted by Valve themselves. The prize pool for this tournament is even increased by fan contributions and is currently sitting at over $2 million.
So if after all of this you're interested in joining Dota 2, send us a message on Facebook and we'll be happy to send a beta key your way. As for me, I've played all three of the games we've talked about today. League of Legends, no matter how many times I reinstall you and try my hardest to get into you, I just can't. Limited champion pool, lack of creep denying, summoner spells, and many other parts that simply do not sync well with me. Here's Newerth, on the other hand, was my addiction for about 3 years. It's a game I've always loved, especially for how fast and smooth its engine is. The balance of the game made me upset quite a few times, but I would still be playing the game to this date if it wasn't for Valve's Dota 2, which is my current MOBA of choice. And I don't mean to say that Dota 2 is perfect, but it is the closest thing to the original Dota without the limitations of the awesome but outdated Warcraft 3 engine. What about you, Blake?
Well, I was kind of the opposite of what you did. I didn't spend any time in Heroes of Newerth, but I spent a lot of time playing League of Legends. I played over about 1,000 games of League of Legends before I got my Dota 2 beta key. And then once I decided to try Dota 2, I got hooked on it. I spent a lot of time in it, and once I got comfortable, I never looked back.
Hopefully you enjoyed our look at the big three. Join me and Blake next time as we take a detailed look at how to get better at your MOBA game of choice and examine some of the great resources available online. Till next time, class dismissed.
And we're out of time. Special thanks to Blake Seymour for helping out in the MOBA classroom and Mike Daniels for his predictions on this year's E3. And as always, Adam Perry for letting us hang out at the last game store. We'll see you next time. This is really top heavy. And Google never fails to surprise and, sorry.